The reality is that the dissertation is actually not written by chapter. It's written, I would think of more of it as a section level. What you're going to do is create a predictable writing routine. What that will require you to do is first understand what is the best time that you write. So you might be a morning person. Like you're investing a lot of money getting these doctoral programs, and to not finish your degree because you possibly won't get out your own way, that's a hard pill to swallow. Like, I'm not trying to waste money. Have you made a promise to yourself that you're going to finish your dissertation before your next birthday, but you're just not sure how you're going to get there? And so far, you've just been feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and feeling like there's no end in sight? If so, you need to watch today's episode because we are going to talk about, and I'm going to give you a roadmap on how to make sure that you finish your dissertation before your next birthday. And for those of y'all who don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Ramon Goings, host of From ABD to PhD show and founder of Done Dissertation. Our goal at Done Dissertation is to help you, the doctoral student, write and defend your dissertation in record time. If you are someone that knows you need help, you've been trying to do this thing yourself, and you're like, look, I don't want my next birthday come along and I'm not done with this dissertation. If that's you, go ahead and scan the QR code that is here on your screen, or go to www.velocitydissertation.com to learn about the Done Dissertation Velocity Coaching Program, which is designed to help you write your dissertation with ease. And so we give you the system and the structure and the coaching, accountability, and community in order to propel and finish your dissertation quickly. And we're trying to help folks not reach that birthday milestone before their dissertation is done. And before we get into the content, I was in that same boat, right? Because when I did my doctorate, my goal was to finish my doctorate before the age of 30. And I remember at the end, I was rushing. I was like, look, I got to finish this. I don't want to turn 30 and not be done with school. Like, I wanted school out the way. And so literally I finished after my 29th birthday is when I finished and defended my dissertation. And so like, I know it's possible, but I know what it feels like to have that sense of pressure. Like, oh, I want to finish this thing, but I'm just not how sure I'm going to do it before my next birthday. So let's dive into how you're going to finish your dissertation before your next birthday. So first things first is that you're going to have to set realistic goals for yourself. So let's dive into the first thing around. If you're trying to finish your dissertation before your next birthday, the first thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to set realistic goals for yourself. Realistic goals are so critical and so important to finishing the dissertation. A lot of times we set these arbitrary goals that don't really mean anything. You just say, oh, I'm going to finish my chapter 1, or I'm going to finish chapter 3 by this date. But that's not good enough. We have to be very specific. If you're trying to finish this in the next year, before your next birthday, you're going to be very specific and particular about what you're doing. And so the reality is that the dissertation is actually not written by chapter. It's written, I would think of more of it as a section level. And then what you can start to do is map out what the sections are that encompass the chapter. And then you're going to start to assign yourself specific sections. And if you're someone where that even feels overwhelmed, maybe you go at the paragraph level. Like, I know this section, I need about 5 paragraphs to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to, each time I sit down to write, I'm going to address one of those paragraphs. You have to be very particular and very specific about your goals. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard to achieve it within a year. And a lot of folks, I just talked to someone just before I started recording, and they mentioned to me that, oh, I'm not sure how, in the Velocity program, how will you all be able to help folks finish like their dissertation proposal, for instance, within a 4-month time frame? And we're like, no, first things first, when you come into our program, we're going to sit with you and have a consultation to actually map out what does these next 4 months look like and get real laser focus on what those goals are at the very specific level, so that each week what you need to do that will encompass getting chapters done, will include getting your proposal done, or if you're past proposal defense, getting your actual dissertation done. But it's going to be really important that you're going to have to set realistic goals for yourself, because if you say, look, I'm going to write chapter 2 in 2 weeks, like, that's just not happening, even for fast writers. And I'm a pretty fast writer. If I had to write a dissertation literature review, I need a little bit more time than that. So like, these are the things to consider. Like, our clients on average write their chapters in about 4 to 5 weeks on average. But we know that this can be done, but it's having very specific and very actionable goals that can get you to the finish line. But a lot of times you don't think about it until it's much too late and you're already in it. You say, I'm just going to write. And then that goal is not realistic because it's not concrete enough for you. And at this point, if you've been stuck, you need concrete goals. No longer you can be sitting in the abstract. We have to make this thing tangible and break it down to the smallest components and then build out the dissertation from there. If you don't do this and you've been stuck, that's why you're stuck. And this is part of the things that we help our clients get unstuck with, because this is really big. And so the next component is that once you set realistic expectations for yourself, is that you go into creating a predictable writing routine. Look, whatever your routine looks like, it just has to be predictable, Because what ends up happening, I see for a lot of folks, is that when you're doing your writing, they say, "Oh, I'm going to write daily." But then what happens is you don't have it marked off on your calendar. And as a result, someone schedules a meeting at work. And then that time that was most ideal for you to write, you end up doing a work meeting. Happens all the time. What you're going to do is create a predictable writing routine. What that will require you to do is first understand what is the best time that you write. So you might be a morning person. Like when I was writing my dissertation, when I was a school teacher, I used to write during lunch period and then on the weekends because that was just what my schedule would allow. But once I transitioned to a staff position at a university, I had a little more flexibility in my schedule, and I used to write before everyone got to the office. So like a 8 to 9:30, or even like a 7:30 to 9 before people got in. And so that was what I was most productive in the morning. But after COVID, especially when my little one, my daughter at the time was about 18 months, and during COVID, she's home all day. We're childcare, trying to manage faculty life for me, doing done dissertation stuff. During that time, I had to learn how to write late at night. So my writing cadence changed, and my predictability was that I could write when my little one went down around 9 o'clock, and I could write from about 9 to 11. So you just have to figure out what time works for you. One of my clients right now, they write at like 2 a.m. Hey, I can't do it, but if you can, make sure it works for you. And this is something that I talk about in my book called 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation. And this is something that you can grab access to. And I want to share with you all here in the this QR code that you see, is that you can grab a copy of the book. It's $24.99. But what we've done, we have partnered. One of our partners is Cohort Sisters, and Cohort Sisters is an organization, a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to advancing gender and racial equity in doctoral education. And their mission is to foster inclusive pathways to advance research doctors by enhancing recruitment, retention, success, and well-being of historically excluded scholars, especially Black women. And so Core Sisters is one of our collaborators. And what we have done is that if you use this QR code, is that for every sale of this book through this QR code, we would donate 35% of the proceeds from the book to Cohort Sisters to support their work advancing doctoral education, because we think that's really important. So if you can do us a favor, scan a QR code. Again, it's not just helping us, it's in you getting the information, it's helping you. It's also helping an organization who is dedicated to helping excluded scholars from getting access. And if you want to learn more about Cohort Sisters, make sure you go to www.cohortsisters.com. But they're a phenomenal organization, and we want to be able to support them. And our book sales is one of the ways that we're going to be able to do that this year. So make sure you grab that. But I share this because as you're thinking about creating a writing routine, one of the chapters in the book, I kind of outline what we recommend often, like a daily writing structure. But some of you all might find that there's certain pockets of time that you write best, and it might be every other day or something like that. You got to figure out what works best for you, but it needs to be predictable. So remember that if you're trying to finish your dissertation by your next birthday, you got to create a predictable writing routine. Because the last thing that allows you to do is that it allows you to then plan with all the other things that are involved in your life. Maybe you have children, you're taking care of a spouse or a relative, and you're trying to figure out how to balance life with your dissertation. But when you have a predictable writing routine, now you can fit everything else in around that, and that doesn't get lost. So that's gonna be really important for you. The next aspect of wanting to finish your dissertation for your next birthday is that you're going to have to embrace rather than fear feedback. I'm gonna say that one again, y'all. You're gonna have to embrace rather than fear feedback. There is one thing I know for certain. Doctoral students, a lot of them are scared of feedback. You might be in this boat. The reason why you haven't submitted. I want to let you know, you got to find a way to embrace it now. Otherwise, you're not finishing. And think about this. And I have to break it down to like this, like most actionable piece. If you don't submit your work and if you do not get feedback, you will not finish. So there's a correlation. I don't submit. I don't get feedback. Submitting, I'm going to get some feedback, and it's going to move me along the route, getting me closer to my finish line. So what I started to learn when I was a doctoral student is like, I want to get feedback as often as I can. I want to give great work, but I want to get that feedback. And this is something that we work with in our velocity coaching program, is to help give you all feedback from us as coaches before you actually give it to your chair, so that it limits the back and forth you have to go with them. We can catch things beforehand. And that's why we create the program and the structure, and why we provide you all feedback in our program, because we know that sometimes feedback is a great tool that can enhance your writing, and you don't know what you don't know. So our job is to help support you with that, so that when you're dealing with your chair, it's like your chair's like, oh, this is improved. And we hear that all the time. Like the chairs notice, like, wow, something's different here. What's going on with you? And this is going to be really important, but you need to have that infrastructure. And so if you're looking for that support, make sure that you schedule a complimentary consultation. You can scan the QR code here, or you can go to velocitydissertation.com. But with that said, you're going to have to embrace rather than fear feedback. And I'll give you this saying that some of you may understand or may have heard this before, depending on what part of the world and what organization you might be a part of. Right? There's this idea that like fear is a mind killer, and it's like a tiny evil that incinerates from the inside out, and you have to learn to face it and control it. And so whenever I'm afraid of something, especially like getting feedback on work, I think about that, and I think about how fear is a mind killer that just reigns in my head all the time. And so when you're considering that, because fear is a mind killer, you have to face it and you have to, overcome it. And the only way you overcome fear is by actually doing the thing that you're afraid of. And so, with that said, if you're afraid of getting feedback, the thing you're going to have to do is submit your work to actually get feedback. And then what you'll start to learn is that it's not as bad as you think. And then when you learn our process for overcoming feedback, you can watch a prior YouTube video when it's dedicated onto how to navigate feedback. Once you learn our process and apply it, feedback becomes really simple to manage, right? It's just something to do. It's not something, it doesn't have to be taken in personally as a reflection of who you are as a person. It's a matter of here's where the work stands at this moment in time. And promise you, you will always get feedback and things can always improve. So why not get that information early and often to save yourself time, to save yourself money? Like even these doctoral programs spending thousands of dollars, why not get the feedback that can help you save money? Literally, that's part of what we do when people join our program is like, look, you're going to invest in our program, but because we allow you to finish quicker, by us helping you finish your dissertation a semester or two sooner, you're saving, usually on average, our clients are saving somewhere between $9,000 to $21,000 in tuition. Think about that. That's true savings in your pocket. And not only that, where you get the money that you're not going to be shelling out, so the money you keep, but then the opportunities that you have as a result that make you money. That's going to be important. But the only way that happens is that you start to submit your work. So this is a message for you. If you have not submitted that chapter and you've been sitting on it for a day, a week, a month, a year, do me a favor. Pause the video, put that email together, say, hey, Chair, I know I've been in contact with you for a while, but I have been working. And here's my latest chapter or latest section of X chapter. Send that email, go about your way. That's what I want you to do with this video. You got to be action oriented. Again, at Done Dissertation, we don't want people just to think about writing a dissertation. We want you to actually do it. And one of the steps is submitting your work. So you're going to have to embrace rather than fear feedback. Now, the last component, as we're thinking about this as a way to make sure that you finish your dissertation before your next birthday, is that you have to recognize and get help when your approach is not working. I believe I had this conversation with someone today where they had reached out to us about 4 or 5 months ago, and they were like, "Ooh, I don't know about joining at that point in time." They're like, "Well, I'll try to figure it out. I don't know if I want to invest. I'm spending a lot of money in tuition, all these things." That was 4 months ago. A whole semester has passed. We kind of re-brought up the situation. Like, look, I haven't finished yet, and I'm still at the same place I was 4 months ago. What you do when you get to that point, you have to recognize either you have to make a change or you have to accept, or what you're doing is saying to yourself is that you accept where you are. And so if that's the case, accept that you're stuck and that you're not going to finish, but you have to accept that. But I know you, because you're watching this video, that you don't accept that. You want to finish, but sometimes you need to know how, and you need a structure to move you in the right direction. And that's when getting help and getting support really comes in handy in what we do in our velocity coaching program. But it's going to take for you to really step out of that comfort zone, because you're paying at some point with some resource for not finishing. You're paying with your time. And I would say your time is even way more valuable than your money, because time, money we can get back. We can make more money, but we can't make more time. So each semester that goes by, that was a semester that student had wasted, essentially being stuck in the same place because they didn't want to get help to get unstuck. You're wasting time. You're wasting energy. And, that energy is important. We only have so much energy within a given day, week, month, year. And so you're wasting energy being stuck in that process. And of course, you're wasting money. Of course, you have to invest to work with a company like ours, but you're investing a lot of money getting these doctoral programs, and to not finish your degree because you possibly won't get out your own way. That's a hard pill to swallow. Like, I'm not trying to waste money. Like, when I remember when I was first developing Done Dissertation, and I was trying to figure out the business side of things. I don't have a business degree per se, but I was like, I got to figure this out. And I had tried things my way, and I had started to develop a process, but I was like, I got to figure out the way to grow and scale. And so I talked with Renee, and I was like, look, we got to figure out and invest in some business coaching. And so that's what I did. So shout out to Jasmine we worked with you all when we first were developing 14 Secrets for Done Dissertation and building out, our program, our velocity program. That was really important to invest in business coaching, because you don't know what you don't know. And I've invested, thousands of dollars, lots of thousands of dollars in myself at this point to get the support around business, because I think it's important to have that acumen. And when you don't have it, why not get the help? That's just like, let's say LeBron James, who's the best basketball player in the world, the fact that he wouldn't go get a coach to help him. He's the best. And literally, if you know anything about LeBron, he spends $1 million on his own personal development, in coaches, in healthcare, and all those things. So why not you do the same? And this is what we recommend for folks. So if you've been stuck and you've watching this, you want to finish by your next birthday, but literally you're at the same place you were your last birthday, it's time to do something different. And so whether you work with us or not, it's fine. Do what you need to do. But if you need a support structure, look into the Velocity program. You can learn more about it by going to www.velocitydissertation.com or scan the QR code that is here on your screen. All I know is that I just don't want to see you go another year being in the same spot, because you all have so much great research that's going to transform the organizations and the people that you care most about and your communities. So why not get some support to help you get done? And it's just really important. And before we wrap up from today's episode, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure you stay tuned in with us. If you're watching other social media platforms, make sure you follow us wherever we are and be part of our community. And one way you can do that, it will be so important, as I mentioned earlier in this episode, is that actually scanning this QR code and grabbing a copy of 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation, because again, 35% of book sales will go to and be as a donation to cohort sisters. And so I'm hoping, that we can get more sales so we can help cohort sisters, who is doing phenomenal work to advance racial and gender equity in doctoral education. So, with that said, make sure you scan the QR code here. And again, I want to say thank you so much for watching this episode from ABD the PhD Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ramon Goings. And until next time, I wish you all a done dissertation. Take care.